believe the man following me right now. This is pretty remarkable. His story is phenomenal from a. Someone clapping already, and I haven't even mentioned who it is. This is excellent. Does anyone know who Riccardo Zacconi is? Ladies and gentlemen, can you please give a hand to Riccardo Zacconi? So let me explain, because we're going to have a little bit of a chat. They're going to move the table, and I'm also going to give you a disclaimer. There was supposed to be 3 people on stage, not including me. So you guys have to help me out, because I'm a little bit intimidated by this fantastic person.
Can I add something to this
ahead.
disclaimer? So
Go ahead.
first of all, it's great to be here. Thank you so much. I would like to use the opportunity. I think it's probably the first time that this ever happened, that an Italian guy is more on time than a German. So hi. Heiko.
I'm sorry.
Good, please have a seat. Heiko, how are you? It's good to see you again. We took the taxi in together, so there we go. Guys, have a seat. So Mike Butcher, who's a phenomenal journalist, was supposed to be interviewing them. So I'm going to be interviewing them unless he comes up on stage. But we're going to use this thing called Slido. We used it yesterday as well, because I actually have no questions prepared. So we're going to just go with it. But I'd love if you guys participate via Slido. So if you just go to slido.com and put in bits16 in there, you can ask questions. And the top questions, we will ask these guys. So you can just vote for your top questions. So really quickly, as a way of introduction, 90 seconds, who you guys are, please.
Okay, does this work? Yeah, okay. So my name is Heiko Huberts. I'm 40 years old and I started a gaming company. It's called BigPoint, roughly 16 years ago, with the business model of free-to-play. And we were one of the first companies in the Western world, I think we're the first company in Europe, who started with that business model, free-to-play, which Ricardo made a very rich person. I'm the smaller guy in that business. Yeah?
That's not true.
I built a company with BigPoint up to 1,000 employees. We did browser games, mainly for a lot of Hollywood studios like Game of Thrones, Battlestar Galactica, Ice Age, and many other more unknown titles. Yeah, I think that's 90 seconds?
That's 90. That was 88
Okay.
seconds. That was really good.
And we know each
Ricardo.
other for a long time, and I've always been looking up to Heiko. He has been really showing the way, and so it's great to be here on stage together. My name is Riccardo Zacconi. I'm Italian. I lived in Germany, actually lived in Munich for 10 years, which I really loved. You might know better busy one of our games called Candy Crush. The company, however, was not an overnight success. We started the company back in 2003. I started in not even in a bedroom, because I was in a guest bedroom. To cut a very long story short, we did an IPO in 2014 on the New York Stock Exchange, and we sold the company in March to Activision for $5.9 billion. But there are many things before.
So let's take it back to the very beginning, because people know you for the incredible success stories that you are today. But take it back to the very beginning. Do you remember what were some of the fears and the challenges that you had at the very start? Because obviously we've got a lot of people on live stream and in the audience who are founders, are starting off. I'm sure it feels good now to sit on a couch and go, yes, did it. But how did it feel at the very start? What were fears and challenges you had back then?
You know, the gaming business is always about fear, because every game you're going to launch is like a new startup. Whenever you launch a game, you did a high investment, you hired people for that to develop the game, you're going to launch with a big marketing budget, and you never know will it be successful or not. So you never lose that. And I still remember the early days, that was even more fun, because developing the game, and if it didn't work, you know, you had only a handful of employees, you just go to the next game, and so on. But at the later days, where you have hundreds and even thousands of employees, and if there's a game not successful where you invested maybe millions, then you're getting much more nervous. So I think I was in the beginning even more relaxed than at the end.
Interesting. It's a really interesting insight. Ricardo.
I'm always nervous. I was very nervous at the beginning, actually, because we started the company with our own money. We started in 2003. We had no one giving us money, so we had to start with our own money. I put in everything I made before. I was all in. And I cut all costs, so I had no more car, I had no more flat, I had busy everything, not even on storage. I was a guest in a flat of a very good friend of mine for 1.5 years. Hey, Mike!
Come on in, Mike.
Hi, guys.
It's good to see
Excellent.
you again, Mike. How are
I
you?
can't believe you.
Fantastic. Come sit over here. Yeah, like I said, I have actually no questions prepared. So
I
here we
know.
go.
That's
I was
why
just
I
We're
Yeah.
just
was-
talking about fears and challenges, so
I'm
go
so
ahead.
sorry,
Ricardo.
everyone. My clock was wrong. Right.
I was just telling the story about fear. We were telling the story about fear at the very beginning.
Fear of time would be useful and appropriate. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, so, welcome. Yeah, so basically the story was that the fear was that when you have all your assets, everything in one basket, then the fear is, how is it going to go? And so I had everything in one basket, and we were trying to find, our money was running out. It was basically almost a year from the start, and it was the day before Christmas. We were discussing with one of our investors whether he should invest, wanted to invest or not. He always said, yes, I want. But it was his trustees who had to sign. And this took many, many months. And it was the day before Christmas. I was about to take a flight. He was in London at the time, to Munich, because my grandmother lives here. And this piece of paper with the signature didn't come through. And finally, the piece of paper came through the fax machine. This is 2003. And the fax machine broke. So that was the biggest moment of fear. And actually, the part which it broke at the moment where half of the page came through, and the page with the signature was in the broken part. And that's where you learn as a startup. My first recommendation, never save on hardware. So that was one of the stories from the time.
God, so fax machines, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. We used to get press releases on fax machines. Oh my God, they all just, we used to have a bin next to the fax machine and just sort of go straight into the bin. I wanted to, I'm terribly sorry to jump in like this. I wanted to just ask you while we've got you, Heiko, that, I mean, Big Point wasn't really the success you wanted it to be, was it? You wanted it to be a billion-dollar company.
You know, I knew with fear.
Shall we send him now back out?
Yeah, exactly.
Should we send the other guy out?
My fear was when you enter the stage, so
exactly.
To ask me questions.
You wanted it to be a billion-dollar company, and it
that's
wasn't.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What went wrong?
You're totally right. And that was, I think, one of the worst decisions I've ever done in my life.
Which one?
2012 didn't sell all my shares because I really believed in that.
Well, that would have been a great high point, surely.
Yeah, of course. But on the other side, you know, we developed every couple of years, you know, every 2-3 years we had a big hit. Every game we launched so far were still successful than in the early days. So we're growing. And I thought really, but never stops. It's just about new games, new technologies, new platforms, and we will grow over the future. But the story has now an end, and it's not that way. You know, we have seen in 2012 when we sold the company, and I got the offer from the two private equity firms who acquired my company at that time that they wanted to buy 100% of the shares. And I said, no way. I really believe we can build a billion-dollar company. So I sold the shares, as only a minority of my shares, just to get a little bit cash out of it, and kept the rest because I believe we can go maybe public and, you know, building such a big success as Riccardo did. But it happens totally different. After we sold, or I sold this minority of the shares, a couple of months later on, the company started to getting flat and even losing revenues. Yeah.
What do you think? What would you attribute that to? Would you think it was down to the sort of the softness in the market, people getting a little bit tired of the platforms, or what was going on?
No, but exactly the platform. We missed platforms. First, we missed Facebook. So if you miss Facebook, okay. But the second one we missed was mobile. And I still remember that we even internally discussed, okay, we have to develop mobile games. That's definitely one of the things. The problem was, and I don't want to do any finger pointing.
Clash of Clans type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That was the kind of games we did before on the browser. And now I want to do the same on mobile. But our investors said, no, Heiko, we invested in an online gaming company, we want to do an online gaming company. If you want to invest in a mobile company, we invest in another company. So, and at that time, I only had 30% of the shares. They, to them, belonged 70%. So I lost the vote, and we were focusing on online. Today, everything has changed, but at that time, 2012, we didn't see what is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I apologise, I should be in Lederhosen, but I did my duty yesterday, so I'm relaxing today. This is the problem, though, isn't it? Is that games are kind of a hits-driven business, and if you miss a window, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah, I mean, we missed too, right? So we missed Facebook, and it was really, really tough. So it was busy 2009, and we were our largest partner. We were distributing our games through partners like Yahoo. Yahoo was our largest partner, and between April of 2009 and April 2010, Yahoo lost 45% of their traffic in games to Facebook. And Yahoo was our largest partner, and we were Yahoo's largest partner in games. So we were the guys who were giving them the biggest check in games. So it was a major issue, and it feels as if someone takes the ground under your feet. I had no clue what was going on. It was too fast. And I had the board all over us, asking, hey, what's going on? Do you have tech issues? So we doubled up our investment in hardware. Of course, we knew about Facebook. We were trying to do Facebook in the meantime. But I think that until you are in a crisis, you don't really, and you're in a corner, you don't really, change how you do stuff. And what we changed is we put 50% of the company on doing really concentrated efforts on Facebook. We had 6 different projects. And overall, it took us 2.5 years to crack Facebook. And then the rest is basically history, because we cracked Facebook first. We renewed entirely the marketing department. And then we innovated again, innovating the way how you play across platforms for mobile. And then the second shift, the second platform, mobile, was easier, because the innovation on Facebook was such that allowed us to grow beyond Facebook.
I mean, do you feel bitter about Facebook?
What do you mean?
Do you feel bitter that they've taken this lion's share of the market, and it's so hard to get out of the Facebook sort of ecosystem?
First of all, I don't think it's not much less harder than it was before. But for us, Facebook was great, because I used to say that we're coming from the street, meaning I used to be online where you buy, you use marketing to buy customers. You buy one, you get one. Then I came on Facebook. We came on Facebook late. We launched our first game on Facebook, which was successful in April of 2011. And August 2010, there were all the other guys, Zynga, etc., was complaining that Facebook turned down virality. And we came in late. We said, hey, wow, we buy one, we get 3. So it was amazing. So for me, Facebook is one of our key partners. We have Facebook, Google, Apple, our 3 key partners.
Facebook's famously anti-gambling. What do you think about that, and what can you do about that in terms of your business?
So I think you would talk about my new company, which is doing a casino business. So what we do is we offer a casino just for fun, meaning, or the term for that is social casino, meaning the people can play casino games just for fun, for high score points.
Is it a fantasy game?
No, it's not a fantasy game. It's a real casino. We're playing the real games, so we have all the IPs from the real slot machines.
Real cash?
You can invest real cash, but you cannot win cash. So you just play for fun. It's like free to play. So you spend a euro and you get 1 million chips, and you can play with 1 million chips. So it's much cheaper than a real money casino, and the people stay much longer because we don't rip them off. They only.
But they don't win anything.
No, but just win points. What can you win in Candy Crush? What can you win in Clash of Clans or in other games?
Right.
You just play for fun there to show that you find maybe a good strategy, or just for.
Does that mean you don't need a gaming license?
No, we don't need a gaming license, and that's the reason why we can be on all the platforms. We're on Google, Facebook, and all the stuff. So all the medias who are normally very restrictive regarding gambling, because we are not gambling.
Oh, I see what you mean. Right.
And Facebook, by the way, I think is also really pushing for these games. So Facebook is not against social casino. This category is called social casino.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud and honored also to be able to be an investor in this company.
Me too.
When are you going to leave?
Sorry?
When are you going to leave?
Leave
King.com
now for the airport.
When are you going to leave? Are you going to leave King.com?
No, it's great fun. It's great fun.
You've been there since 2003.
So?
With the fax machine.
I know, but now I think that in life it's always about learning new things. And I think we went through really, we started the company ourselves, so we went through that phase. We went through the phase of growth. We went through the tough moments. We went through an IPO. We went through a sale. We have 2,000 people, and the world is the opportunities are big, and now even bigger than ever, because with Activision, they have different categories of games, a wider game offering. We have more players than the United States, so there are lots of opportunities.
Do you think that the European gaming companies basically got games much better than the US counterparts? I'm thinking of Zynga, for instance, which really just doesn't barely exist.
I think that Europe has, and Heiko, but I think Europe has an heritage of smaller studios. Europe has an heritage of creating games for the internet, so not the same kind of investments required as if you create a game for console. Console games were more in the United States, bigger investments, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so I think we were very good at working in small teams, fast iterations. Now, when the shift moved over first to Facebook and second to, in particular to mobile, with casual being a perfect genre for mobile games and genre which are less graphically oriented, I think Europe was in a great starting position. This explains why there are so many successful companies coming out of Europe.
Would you agree? Okay.
Totally. I think the European companies are more innovative. Yeah? So in the US, it's everything about the blockbuster, the big IPs, and the US market itself. So just see what Zynga is a good example what they have done. They were just focusing on Facebook, just focusing on the US market. Even for all the European countries, they didn't do any translations or they can change the currencies or something like that. So if you want to be successful in the European market, you need to be innovative because we have a much smaller market or territories here. If you want to be successful in Europe, you have to translate your game in 20 different languages and dealing with all the different legal situations and so on and so on. So it's more difficult, and to be successful, you need to be innovative, and you have to be a very good executor in the European market.
What about Asia? Because famously it has its own, big studios, etc. How is it possible to crack Asia or China, for instance? Any thoughts?
I think it's very, very tough for any Western company to crack that market for different reasons. There are ways to do it, and there are games who can be successful with that. But from my point of view, what we have seen with our games, that is almost impossible without a strong partner in the market. So especially in China, to be successful in China, you need one of the big players to work with. So it's maybe similar to the mobile industry where you may be working with Android and iOS, and same you have in China. If you're not working with Tencent or Giant or one of those guys, it's pretty tough in the online gaming business.
Ricardo, what do you think?
Well, I think if you ask the Japanese, they talk about a 100-year strategy, 100-year plan. I think it takes long. We have not cracked it yet. We have not given up either. The markets are very different, China, Japan, and Korea. I think that China is a very closed, extremely competitive market where there is no Facebook, there is no Google, there is no Android. So it's a bit of a different beast. If you want to be distributing your games, you have to be in many different stores, not just in one store. You have to adapt. We have a team in Shanghai, which also basically adapts games. Our belief is that we are not creating Chinese games for China, because if we have to create local games, we will always run after the others. So we try to take global hits to China with a local localization, but not recreating it. In this way, we want to be different from others. And Supercell has done a great job there. I think they've proven that this is possible. We believe in that. But it's still work in progress. And Japan is, again, a different beast.
It's fascinating. Don't you think it's amazing to see what Pokemon Go has achieved in such a short period of time? I mean, what's your opinion of that? And do you think that's going to, like the touch paper on a whole wave of, mixed reality gaming?
I think that shows the power of IPs. That's not, at the end, it's a kind of geocaching kind of game with a very, very strong IP. If you have used exactly the same technology, the same game, but haven't used a known IP, the game wouldn't be as successful as it is right now. So IPs are really, really important for new kind of technologies to introduce that. On the other side, I only think that those kind of games we will see many more in the future, and also with many more different IPs.
In your studio, you plan to create new kinds of IP, and as well as social casinos. You're not going to stop there, right, I presume?
No, for us, IPs are critical. What we do, we have a lot of slot machines, and the slot machines are all the slot machines you can play in Las Vegas, in Europe, and so on. So we don't develop any slot machines in-house. We get them from third parties, very well-known slot machines. So for us, IP is critical for the success.
What about you, Ricardo? What do you think about Pokemon Go?
I think Pokemon Go is, again, a testimony that if you want to break through any market, you need to innovate. And I think we innovated with Candy Crush, and it was a success. We made the market. Pokemon Go has made a market. It's brought to gaming new players, which were never playing before, and you see a phenomenon with players outside on the street. So I think it's fantastic. I'm super happy. The industry is now harder than ever. We spend hundreds of millions of dollars of marketing to stay up there in the charts, and it's very tough to break through the charts. The fact that someone new came through, despite having a very proven IP, but I think the gameplay is totally innovative, I think is a great proof that if you innovate, you get rewarded for it. And I think this is the reason why everyone is in this room. We need, and you need, to innovate and make the world better.
I don't know if the organisers would allow us to do questions with the audience or not. What do you think? Or are we ahead? Oh, we're being thrown off.
This is my revenge. Since you interrupted me, I'm going to interrupt you with a question. I'm
All
just
right.
kidding. We've got some questions coming up, actually. Can we put them up? Thank you guys for putting these questions in.
Okay, great.
Do you want to take one or two of those?
Yeah, thanks, man. So, yeah, that was a good point. Media partners. What do you think about getting media partners to create reach for your games? How do you negotiate that? Any thoughts?
I don't think that they're as important as they have been in the past. So Daniel, who was asking the question, he was one of my partners earlier on at the Bild Zeitung here in Germany. So they're not that important anymore because they have a lot of new channels. So as you already talked about Facebook, talking about the mobile channels or being in the app stores, good ranked and all this kind of stuff is more critical than working with media partners. But in our new company, we continue the path on working with all the TV channels and newspapers and general interest portals. We're still going that way because it's still a good channel to get users, but it's not as critical as it was in the early days of BigPoint.
Right.
I have to say I'm a big fan of media partners, meaning that's the way how we started the company. We started the company with not much money, and so when you don't have much money, all the money goes in the product. And so we didn't spend it on marketing. If you put money in marketing, it can be gone tomorrow. And so the way how we managed to grow our business was through media partnerships, where we had all kinds of interesting deal structures with revenue shares, some guarantees, et cetera, and that's how we build the business. So I'm definitely very grateful to them. I think they're great partners for not only for startup but also for companies which want to grow. In our specific case, we do direct TV, so we do the directly TVs and other forms of marketing. So as Heiko was saying, we're less reliant than we used to be. But fundamentally, I'm always open for partnerships. And as we speak, we are also working on potential partnerships which go beyond the classic model.
We've got one from Chris here. It's like, basically, how do you get to the top of the App Store? Everyone wants to know that one, don't you?
Very simple. Create a great new app which is innovative, different from the market. This is number one.
Not go out with the person who's running the App Store, or
Sorry?
Not go on a date with the person running the App Store.
It depends. I mean, it can help, but didn't help us at least. No, I think that the way is you need to be different, better, and something which is really so amazing that people want to put you on the App Store, but specifically, more importantly, that there is virality, i.e. people talk about it and they share it. And then you can boost, once you have that, you can boost all of that with marketing, performance marketing, understanding. It's easier if the model makes money, because then you can look at cohorts, how they monetize. If it makes money, you invest 100, you made money, you get money back, you invest 200, from 200 you go to 400, to 800, 1.6, and so on. Then you can scale it.
Okay.
Sorry for the long answer.
What's your view on that one?
I totally agree. That's the way. I think it's important, to know the people from the App Store definitely helps, but not to get on the top on the App Store. It's more about the promotion. If you get a good promotion, and I think Ricardo knows that, if you get a good promotion in the App Store from Apple or Google, that helps a lot to get a lot of users for sure. But to get known all those people, and
But you don't get to the top with that.
No, you're right. Exactly. You get not on the top on that, but you get a lot of users. So definitely it helps, especially for startups who just started a game. And if you have an innovative, high-quality product, you should talk to the guys who run the App Store and tell them about your game, what you're doing, to get the promotion. Because you don't have the marketing dollars at the beginning.
You've got to stay in contact with those guys, yeah.
But if I can give a very practical advice, I mean, you guys here are practical, right? So the practical advice is the most important KPI you have to look at is retention. Look at day 2, day 7, day 30 retention. If you have an app which is over 60%, you have a great app.
Cool. Let's talk gamification. Everything's getting gamified these days, and there's a question coming in about, is it going to be a bigger part of our daily lives? Where do you think is the opportunity for disruption? What industries are still out there? What things in our daily lives can be still gamified?
So gamification is, I think I gave a masterclass an hour ago in a different room here, and I was talking about onboarding employees. And I told them a story about another gaming studio. What they do is a quiz. So every employee can add a question to this quiz and give the answers. And the question is always about the company, about the product, about the processes, whatever. So it helps a lot to onboard the people much faster by letting them play the quiz instead of letting them them reading documents and listen to other speakers of a company. So it's really helping to onboard people faster, get an understanding what the vision of a company is, what we're working on, what maybe the problems in the company are, who's in charge of what, getting known all the other people better. So that's a good example of gamification in a startup or in a company.
Absolutely, Ricardo.
I think it's in many industries. I think one of the obvious one is, of course, education. Kids, it's much more fun if you can create it in a more interactive way where they're, I mean, what is the key thing about a game? It makes it interesting, but it's also challenging. Number one, it's challenging. Number two, it gives you a gratification for having passed the challenge. And so to introduce these elements, which are key in any game, I think can be done more or less in every industry. Now, in gaming, it's very important to make a game which is fun. Otherwise, it's, you have to do it, and you can make it. One interesting application which I've seen now in a totally different industry is in gamification in life sciences.
Okay.
So where games are used to, for example, detect very early some neurodevelopmental diseases. So it can be very wide how far it can go.
Okay.
I mean, there are games now to detect autism, for instance.
Exactly.
And, things like that.
For example.
Should we do one more question?
Let's do one more, with the one which is actually one that I wanted to ask anyway, which was VR. Where do you think it's going in terms of VR and games, both of you?
Sure. I'm probably a bit more of the skeptic side on VR. I'm more a fan of AR, and the main reason is physiological, meaning if you wear a headset, which is already quite bulky, you can't really stay there for more than 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes if you're a more hardcore player. And you're also limited in the kind of games you can provide. So if you have too much movement, you feel ill. If you have a fishing game, it's fine, but it's more limited. AR, I think, is amazing. I think it can enhance what you can do with constant information and so on. So I'm more a fan of AR, and not only with something you wear, but also in terms of enhanced reality using your phone. So something you have always with you where you don't need any hardware.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. I'm a big fan of VR, and I'm really a big believer in it. I think that's a big game changer. Maybe it will take a couple more years to make it really to everyone, but I really believe that in the future, everyone who has a PlayStation or Xbox will also have a VR device, and it's going to play and will use VR in a day-to-day life. I'm really a big believer in that. But it will take time because currently, you get motion sickness and all this kind of stuff. It takes a little bit of time to improve those devices.
You can play Call of Duty, Activision's got Call of Duty, right? So you can play Call of Duty for 6 hours straight, but you can't strap a VR headset on for 6 hours straight unless you want to throw up everywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're also too slow, that's the other thing. I think to play Call of Duty well, you're much faster. I mean, you can, I think, do something 180 movements per minute using a keyboard, and if you're on a VR, you'll be killed immediately.
Super.
Okay.
Well, guys, can we give...
Going to wrap up.
Yeah, can we give a hand to Mike, Heiko, and Ricardo, please?
Thanks.
All right. So as these guys go off stage,